I remember when I first went to my first ever gay pride parade in San Francisco, the contingent that really got to me was PFLAG, parents and friends of lesbians and gays. And well, I'm an easy cry, but I just kind of boo-hooed because when I was a little boy, the idea of having straight non-gay allies, well, that was an interesting concept. Well, certainly there is no greater straight ally of the LGBT community than my next guest, Joanie Juster.
Well, thank you, David. You do me too much credit, but
well,
I appreciate
no,
that.
it's all true. You know, the virtue of having your own show sometimes is you get to have people on that you want to promote. And you have been doing good work in the Bay Area for a very long time. I love the way you describe yourself, community activist. I mean, that really sums up a lot. You've been activating for a long time.
For a long time. Yeah, it's funny when people ask, well, what do you do? You know, people meet you and they say, what do you do? And I'm speechless. Even your producer, I had no answer because I'm really all over the map. What I do for a living isn't necessarily who I am and what I do. Mm-hmm. What I do is, you know, it seems over the past, 20, 30 years, is just try to help.
Right. Well, you know, and you came of age, I think, as an activist during a time when we were all trying to help, and some of us were just trying to stay alive, right, during the dark years of the AIDS-HIV epidemic. How did that experience fuel your activism and continue to fuel it?
It started my activism. I mean, I'd done some volunteer work in high school and not much in college and not much in my 20s, really. I'm kind of a slow starter. I was just trying to get my life going, really. Mm-hmm. And I moved to San Francisco in 1978 mm-hmm. from Santa Cruz, and was just trying to feel my way around the city. And then AIDS came along.
Not too long after you came here in '78. I mean, actually, we didn't know it at the time, but when you came here, AIDS was already here.
Yeah, but I got here in time for, shall we say, the end of the party. Uh-huh. And I started working in cabarets, and which was very much the gay community. I was working in theater. I was working at the American Conservatory Theater and the Plush Room and various other places. And then AIDS came along, and the way I try to describe it to my many nieces and nephews is I remember when I was growing up asking my dad, so Daddy, what did you do during the war? Yeah, World War II. Because everybody did something. I felt that way about when AIDS hit our generation and our city. You had to help. I just didn't feel I had a choice. You had to help. The question is how to help. Mm-hmm. And obviously it started first with my immediate friends, you know.
How many friends did you lose to AIDS?
Oh God, that's a question I truly can't answer, even though I have every one of those names.
It's lots.
Embossed in my heart. It was a lot. Close personal friends, acquaintances, colleagues, co-workers, people in the community who touch you. I mean, the waves just ripple outwards.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a lot of quilts on the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt that have seen your finger on the needle.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's hard to quantify because it goes beyond numbers.
Yeah. Does it bother you sometimes when you feel, maybe you don't feel, I feel that there's a generation that not only doesn't remember it, that doesn't know it, and doesn't understand how the modern, not even the gay community, but the modern San Francisco was really forged in those war years of AIDS, HIV? Does it bug you when someone doesn't know?
Not so much bug me as it's a reality check to me that time passes and generations move on. And part of my work now is, all of us spent many years in the trenches just doing triage, just taking care of people, trying to keep them alive, helping them through their passing, helping to memorialize them. Now we're in a different generation, a different era, and a lot of us are involved in trying to get those stories out. I remember so many years ago when we were first working on the AIDS Memorial Quilt that we were all youngish. I was one of the older ones. I was in my 30s when it came along. But we would kid to each other that, someday some graduate students are going to come along and stick a camera in our face and ask, what was it like back in the old days? Well, that's happening.
They're sticking the cameras in our faces now.
That's happening because what we did is now history that those of us who lived through it, who survived, thank goodness, we have a responsibility to tell those stories and to get that documented while we can. So there are documentaries being made, there are oral histories being taken, and yes, I'm involved in all of that. So I feel a responsibility to record this history, to honor those who are gone, to honor those who are still around who did so much to help. And also, this is a major piece of history that needs to be documented accurately by those who still remember it.
Right.
So that's among the things I'm working on.
But you never got tired. I've never seen you say no to a good cause.
Oh, my. Okay, the one thing I really hate is when people say, describe me as the tireless Joanie Juster. Trust me, I'm tired. I'm really tired.
Fatigued, Joanie. You know, as a friend of the gay community,
I'm really tired.
You're never tired if you're gay or in the gay community. You're fatigued.
I'm fatigued, yes.
Yeah.
I am learning how to say no just for my own protection.
Well, we're glad that you've been saying
but
yes.
But it's hard.
Yeah, I know. we're glad you've said yes to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And right now, you're involved in something that's near and dear to my heart, marriage equality. My husband and I. People say, how long have you been married? I say, well, we say 17 years. The state of California says 6.
That's right.
There's a big event coming up for your latest cause, marriage equality. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily my latest cause. I've been involved in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And but relatively recently, over the past few years, I've been involved with a group called Marriage Equality USA, which is a very tiny and very big organization. It has one actual employee, but they are nationwide advocating for equality, marriage, but equality on many other levels across the country. So they were very involved in the Supreme Court cases and such. So yes, they have an annual gala, as most organizations do, because it takes money to do all that advocating.
And the fight is not over.
Oh, the fight is far from over. Even despite the fantastic advances we've made in the past couple of years, the pushback from the other side is very real and very scary.
Well, in our last few moments, let me just say it's physics. For every action, there is an immediate and opposite reaction.
Absolutely.
So we're still fighting prejudice.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being on the show with us.
Thank you, David, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. We'll see you at the Marriage Equality Gala.
Okay, thank you.
We've been speaking to Joanie Juster. I'm David Perry. Thanks for watching 10%. We'll see you next week.